recently someone told me about Satanist music during the 70s and 80s, and how it was a response to the fundamentalist moral Christian attitude of the period. And of course I already knew all about this, that Satanism is a reactionary, volatile sort of ideology that its only purpose really is to serve as a response to extreme hardcore Christianity. I already knew all this, but the way that this person put it really put into perspective for me how focusing exclusively on the satanic panic of the 1980s makes Satanism seem way nobler and pure-hearted than it actually is. Because when you get right down to it, Satanists are losers. I've always said this. As an atheist, I think Satanists are fucking dumb. Like, I think Satanism is fucking stupid. I don't get why anyone would worship one particular fictional character in the Judeo-Christian pantheon over any other fictional character, because none of the characters in the Judeo-Christian mythology are really worthy of worship to me, especially not Satan. Right off the bat, Satanism doesn't really make any sense. What this person said, essentially, and I've heard a very similar argument before, is that Satanists don't legitimately believe any of what they say. They don't actually believe in Satan or bathing in blood or any of this edgy shit that they try and espouse. Hey, look, it's a skeleton driving a fucking truck. Isn't that neat? You don't see that every day, huh? That skeleton is having a good time in that truck there, and I'm just walking past. So anyway, what this person said was that all the bands of the 1970s and 80s who branded themselves with edgy Satanist imagery didn't actually believe in Satan. And to that I said, why would you say you believe in something if you don't? If you don't like God, if you don't like Christianity, the solution isn't to brand yourself as a Satanist just to get a rise out of your fundamentalist Christian parents, like the guy in the "We're Not Gonna Take It, Twisted Sister" music video. The solution is just to say to your fundamentalist Christian father, Father, as long as you believe in fictional characters like God or Moses or whatever, I'm not going to respect you as a man. I'm not going to respect you as a human being because I'm an atheist and there is no God. See, that's what I would say. To purely focus on the satanic panic of the 1980s, the backlash to the backlash of fundamentalist Christians to hardcore edgy Satanists, who are hardcore edgy Satanists purely to get a rise out of the fundamentalist Christian sort, I think this ignores and erases the contributions of parents in the 1970s and 80s who were perhaps ex-members of the 1960s youth movement, and who raised their children with secular humanist beliefs, with atheist beliefs, because such people did in fact exist. So to pretend as if the entirety of 1980s America was just one big Bible Belt with a bunch of Bible-thumping barbarians, that's really silly and caricaturish and reductive. And it doesn't speak to the depth of the American experience. To just say that the satanic panic was some kind of universal tendency, that people of all times don't have varying degrees of belief in God. Like, sure, atheism has risen since the 1980s. Statistically, there are more atheists today than there were in the 1980s. But to claim that every single parent of the baby boom generation raising their Gen X or early millennial children, say that they were all fundamentalist Christians, does a real disservice to them. Like, not everyone is an idiot who believes in the Bible. Some people believe in real shit, like the real world, for instance. Like the sky and the clouds. But not God or Satan, specifically. Because to believe in either God or Satan, you have to be really fucking stupid. Anyway, the problem with Satanism, to me, as a system of belief, is that it's inherently unsustainable due to its intrinsically reactionary nature, by which I mean Satanism could not exist if it weren't for Christianity. It's purely a response to Christianity. There are better religions, like, for instance, Wiccanism, right? Wicca is so much more successful than Satanism, specifically because Wiccans don't worship Satan, right? So you have a constructive theology as opposed to a reactionary, purely destructive theology that just says, oh, you worship the good God? Well, we're going to worship the bad God. Aren't we edgy? Aren't we a bunch of little edgelords? Even though, if you consider the Bible, if you take the Bible at face value, Yahweh, as a character, is every bit as evil as Satan supposedly is. Perhaps even more so. I mean, especially considering Yahweh created Satan, and literally everything. More to the point, to say that bands like Black Sabbath are not Satanists, that they're just pretend Satanists or something, is silly. If Black Sabbath were atheists, they wouldn't call their band Black Sabbath, because to an atheist, there is no such thing as a Sabbath. It's just called Sunday. We don't celebrate Sabbath. We don't observe Sabbath. No particular one day carries any specific weight over any one other particular day of the week. Like, yes, even if they are performative Satanists, even if they don't legitimately believe what they're saying, Black Sabbath are Satanists. At the end of the day, if you asked Ozzy Osbourne what he believed in, he'd say, I believe in Satan. And maybe he doesn't really, but in that case, isn't that worse? Isn't it worse if you just have a bunch of people who say they believe in something, but they legitimately actually don't? Like it's all just a big shit post? That's all Satanism is. It's just like, yo, I love bathing in blood. Okay, I better see you bathing in blood in your fucking music video if you say that's what you like. You say I like committing human sacrifice? Okay, I better fucking see that. You know, you better come through with the goods, you know, if you want to be taken seriously as a devout Satanist. How familiar are you with figures like Moloch and Payman and all of that? How familiar are you with the circles of hell? Seriously, how big are you into this shit that I'm supposed to take you seriously as a Satanist? Or you just, like, paint a goat everywhere? If you're gonna say you're a Satanist, you better have the fucking guts to back it up. Or as an atheist, I'm just going to see you as much of a joke as the Christians. So really, I think that's the problem with Satanism ultimately, is that Satanism is dependent on the existence of Christianity. It cannot function as a system of belief unto itself. It'll always just be reacting to Christianity. I think that's fucking stupid. And I think that music that insincerely claims to hold a certain system of belief, but like it doesn't at all, and everyone in it is just a big shit poster. What the hell is the point of music like that? Like, I would much rather hear a song that's like, there is no God, praise be to Zeus, you know, praise be to Jupiter, but fuck Yahweh, because that guy doesn't even really exist, and neither does Zeus, but Zeus is a cooler character. I'd like to hear more neo-Hellenist music like that, or secular humanist music, you know. I'd like to hear more music like that than Satanist music, because seriously, Satan is overdone to shit. Like, this character's lousy. Aside from the Adam Sandler film Little Nicky, which I think is maybe the best explanation of the whole hell mythos that's ever been made, like, that movie is legitimately a great exploration of the hell concept. I don't think anyone else has done it that well. I just don't get the point of this character Satan. Like, what is it with Satan? He's not a compelling antagonist at all. There's better antagonists, you know, in popular fiction. Yeah, Satanism is a dumb system of belief, and I think to fully focus on it as a 1980s cultural touchstone, just to focus on metal is like, metal did so much to backlash against Christianity. No, it didn't. Because if you just have a bunch of losers who were raised by fundamentalist Christians and they just think that rebelling is oh, I'm going to worship the bad God instead of the good God, that's stupid. Like, you need an alternative, and that alternative is atheism, where you just abandon both. You just say neither exists, and all of this is stupid. I think that's the way forward. And to focus exclusively on Satanists in the 1980s contributes to the erasure of secular humanism or atheism as their own important cultural movements and touchstones of the 20th century. So, just to put it into thought there, because what this person said really put it into perspective for me, why I don't like Satanism. So yeah, fuck God and fuck Satan. That's right. And let's worship the sun. There he is. There's God. There's God right there. Look, it's the sun. It's what allows life to be possible on this planet. Wow. Right there. Right in front of my fucking eyes. Wow. Wow, it's God. Holy shit. It's the sun.